Okay, you're on. Go.
Hi, and welcome to our travel log.
We can't really wait till we're ready because we'd never be ready.
We'd never be ready. I don't even know what we're talking about right now. I know we're talking about some of our last days, but I don't remember where we left off.
Okay, so Florence and Grants Pass. So primarily Florence because we did a ton there and we were there a long time. So much so that I even brought the calendar to remember. We were actually in Oregon for, oh shoot, one more day than we were in Montana.
18.
So we've been in Oregon the longest so far. But we were in...
Where's Grants Pass? That's here.
No, Grants Pass was the weird place last. No, we stayed by in the middle of town.
Oh, yeah. Grants Pass. Yeah.
Should we talk about Grants Pass first? Because it's a little weird.
Sorry. I go in order.
Okay, so Florence, we stayed at another 1,000 Trails campground, and it turned out to be pretty nice, except we didn't have sewer, so we added an addition to the roof.
Sure did. Yep. I'm really excited to announce that we now have a sewer tote.
We have a sewer wagon, so when we don't have sewer to drain our tanks, we can fill the sewer wagon and take it to the dump station, which primarily is just because there's 6 of us just using water, washing dishes, washing our hands. Even if we don't shower in there, still accumulates a lot of water. But then we have the benefit of still being able to use our bathrooms and such. Dogs, chainsaws. Like I said, if we wait till we're ready, we'll never be ready.
Yeah, so the whole sewer wagon thing, the only downside to it really for me, at least, is it takes forever. Are we editing this, or is it just raw footage?
Oh, we're pretty raw.
We are.
But this is why, to comment on that, we're trying it on the phone versus the computer this time because the only editing app that I am able to figure out is on. I can only use it on my phone, and so I'm going to try and insert some pictures. It might not be like the most amazing video you've ever edited or seen, like, because I'm not a professional, but that's why we're going to use this.
There was a sign, I believe it was in Florence, at a hotel. It says, just like you, we're getting better. So maybe that's our mantra. We're getting
okay,
better.
I really don't know where we were. The 1,000 Trails, it was a nice park. We were in the trees. I am convinced the fairies lived there. So much of the center of the campground, which was our front yard and our backyard the whole time, was really just tree roots and then a little bit of sand and dirt over top of it. But like you could feel it like bouncing because there really wasn't solid dirt. And
that was Florence because of the fire incident.
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that.
I don't want to talk about that at all.
I wasn't even going to mention it.
Anyway, as I mentioned, it takes a long time. So where we were in Florence to empty the gray tanks, I'll just say
That's
that.
where we were.
Yep, gray tanks. Basically, for us, the front tanks is the shower and the sink in the front bathroom, and then the back tank is the sink and the washing machine, and then the sink in the back bathroom, so the kitchen sink. And so to do that took about an hour. So I had to go back and forth 3 or 4 times because
the tank in the rib is big.
The tank in the rib, we don't even really know how big. I thought it was 40, but one time I took 3 trips, and those 3 trips got me to empty it all. Just 20. We're getting better all the time. So anyway, so here's what I have is a 21-gallon Camco. I talked to a couple of people about size, including the people that I bought it from, and some stuff online, and a lot of them said, 21 to 27 is about as big as you want to go. So they didn't have a 27 where I bought it, so I went with 21. It's got 2 tires. It does have an attachment up top. It's not on right now for towing, but this is what you have to do. You empty your tank into here, and then you have to tow it to the dump station, and that took, like I said, for just the gray tanks, the gray tank, the back one, took usually close to an hour. And then if you had to do front as well, that was even worse in Florence because we just didn't have very good grade in our campsite, so it was tough to really get emptied out. But anyway, that's the biggest issue. It's not my favorite thing to do. I'll do it when we have to. So there.
Okay,
So let's talk about something more fun than sewer tanks.
Anything is
Sewer
way more
toads.
fun. Anyway, so the temperature ranged from like mid 50s to mid 60s right where we were. So we were still by the ocean, probably about a 5-minute drive.
Yep.
Everything was still very damp and wet, and we shared why we left, but just to sum that up, we actually left the coast almost 2 weeks earlier than we expected. In this particular site, we left about a week early, just because nothing would dry out.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just the way it was. And a lot of people get dehumidifiers. We looked for one, couldn't find one. But there's other reasons we wanted to move too, so it worked for us to move earlier. But things like not my favorite thing to reuse my towels after my shower, but I'm learning. So you dry that up, you'd hang it up to dry, but they wouldn't. They would just be just as wet as when you hung them up. Things like our salt container, the salt was starting to stick in the things because of the moisture. It was just not water was coming in, but moisture was coming in, and that leaves a threat to mold and tearing down the RV if it got really bad. So we left there early. But while we were there, we went back to the ocean a couple times. One of the first things I have written down is we went to Hobbit's Trail, which was a really cool pathway way down and then way back up. I do think the hobbits live in that
They
little
really
forest.
could. It was like arched
very
and
enchanted like that.
It was neat.
That part of down at the ocean was our first experience with it wasn't really a tide pool, but some of the ocean creatures that were on that big rock.
It was a tide pool,
when
technically.
the tide was out.
Yeah. So the first thing that we saw when we came down there, we knew something was dead on the beach, and that was kind of off-putting. So we kind of stayed away from that area, but we found a huge, it was a sea lion that was dead. We found a huge sea star, a red sea star, probably that big. For those of you that aren't familiar with sea stars, we call them starfish.
Forgot about that.
Yeah. And we at first weren't sure if it was alive or not. And I picked it up and turned it over, and the grooves on the bottom where all the suction cups are, I just touched one lightly and he started to try to move. So I'm like, yep, get him back in the ocean. So we threw him back in the ocean.
Try.
And then we had a small tidal pool. I think they technically were tidal pools. They weren't like the ones we saw later.
It wasn't really a pool. It was more like a rock or a jetty or whatever they call that thing. And then the mussels and the
anemones
were stuck to it. And to me, it was really kind of gross and freaky. It looked dead and
it wasn't. They were all alive.
And
there was cool stuff. We saw a big, long millipede type worm that was on there. That was pretty cool. I liked it.
I do say no matter which beach we on, some of them have been cleaner just because a couple places I think they kind of like rake the seaweed and stuff away. But the sand itself, it's really nice sand.
Yeah,
There's no rocks in it. It's really awesome to walk in, except for the jellyfish that are washed up on shore.
For sure.
But I really like the sand. We didn't, nowhere in the Pacific Ocean on the Oregon coast did we swim. Like up to our ankles was as far as we really got in. The water's cold and it's rough. It's not really considered that safe to swim in, but it was chilly.
Yeah, so Hobbit's Trail was neat.
Look, I do have you saved a starfish, but
I
still wrote starfish because that was before we got to the place that the ranger corrected me multiple times that it was a sea star. I'm trying to somewhat go in order. Oh, Belle had to go do an assignment at the library, so we visited the Florence Public Library. They did have some things in town there when we needed to run errands that we could go to.
We went to Fred Meyer quite a bit. Grocery outlet, gem of a store. We love that store. You never know what you're gonna find.
That's right. I don't like a lot of people go in there and say they can do their whole grocery shopping, and maybe you could, but I mean, they have everything-ish, but it's sporadic. You don't know. Everyone's been a little different, but we've found some really good bargains on some things.
Heck yeah. Turkey bacon, $2 a package. $2
a package.
the
turkey bacon that we eat.
That we eat, yeah. Not
that
just,
I can't find anywhere else, and it's
yeah.
at least $5 a package elsewhere. Okay, the sand dunes.
The sand dunes, yeah. So so they have these huge sands. It's I don't know if it's a 50 or 100-mile stretch, whatever it happens to be in the Oregon area, and it's called the Oregon Dunes area, and they just have huge sand dunes, and they've over the years developed this idea of sandboarding and sand sledding, and so we decided after talking to somebody that we would just you know, get a snow tube. They had them at Fred
Yeah,
Meyer.
the guy at the visitor center said you could slide down him in anything.
No, in anything.
Piece of cardboard.
He's a liar.
He used his kayak when he was a rebel of a teenager.
He's still a liar.
He wasn't a teenager anymore.
Anyway, so we bought this tube and blew it up, and we tried to go down several places, and I think there was a lot of disappointment that we could not move.
It was frustrating.
It was frustrating.
Well, because you would, but it was frustrating.
And it was frustrating partly because you'd haul your butt up these huge sand dunes, and then you'd try to get going down, and you couldn't go anywhere. And yeah. So anyway, so we tried that on our own, and eventually decided that we would go to a rental place to get some sandboards, and we got a sandboard and a sand sled. And so I think everybody except for Amanda tried it. And
I wasn't going to risk my neck and my back.
Listen,
especially after seeing him wipe out.
There is no video evidence of that anywhere on our Instagram.
Yeah, but see, now if I can figure it out, I could put that video evidence that you don't think exists right there.
I've never seen it. I don't believe it exists, even though my sister told me she saw it and thinks it's hilarious. I wiped out big time.
So that worked. It worked pretty well. They were wooden boards, and then I think the real key was, and then Eiley told me too, is the sand wax to make the bottoms really slippery. So the other sled might have worked better if we had the sand wax to make it go. Excuse me. But yeah, you guys did a pretty steep hill when it got it to work, and then I think wiping out on the sand looked a whole lot harder than the snow.
For sure, it hurt. It hurt. I heard my neck crack a few times as I hit the ground. It was great.
Okay.
Go on our Instagram. You'll love it.
Well, that was just in the story, so that's not there anymore.
Okay, so that's not there anymore. Good. See, no video evidence
Okay,
at
so
all.
we headed back north a little bit to a couple places. We went to Newport and Depot. And in Depot, we did attempted to do some whale watching.
Emmett saw a couple
Emmett
whales.
right here. This is Emmett. He's the only one
Zoe?
that saw a whale. And the reason is they have actually, they migrate, the whales migrate up and down the coast, but there's a couple dozen that live pretty much right there. And as long as it's not foggy, you can typically see them.
Dang fog.
We waited till a sunny day to go up there, but the guy at that visitor center was telling me that if it's warmer in other places on the coast where they are, they get the fog. I didn't really understand the meteorology of it, but they will get foggier when other places are warmer.
Maybe you can talk to Carrie about that. She can explain to me.
Yeah, Carrie and Justin can help us. And then we'll let you know. But anyways, it was so foggy. It was so foggy you couldn't see very far at all. They were taking the boats out, so people were still seeing them past a certain point, but Emmett was the only lucky one to actually see one. And then there you guys also...
We did 2 lighthouses.
Yep. And what am I thinking of? Oh, the fish and chips.
Oh, fish and chips.
You guys enjoyed
there
there a lot.
Very good, yep.
So then Newport was the lighthouse that was also so foggy that you were 100 feet away from it, or 100 yards maybe, you couldn't see it. And the puppies weren't supposed to go up by the lighthouse themselves, so we took that in shifts, and while the first half went up, it wasn't a very big walk. The second half, we started to walk the other direction just to walk the dogs, and we realized there were people down below, like way down, and there were stairs, and there was a ranger. So we're like, what is this? There were tide pools down there. The kids say it was one of their favorite parts of the whole trip, but we didn't even know it was there.
No, we didn't. We literally went. It was called Yaquinta Head Lighthouse. That's what we went there to see. And again, you couldn't really see it.
When you got up to it, you could.
You could, but and ended up, like Amanda said, one of the best parts. We walked down in, and we had wanted to see sea lions, and we had seen Herbert.
Oh, yeah.
Right, yeah, Pacific City, but we hadn't really seen sea lions. This was one of the closest at that point that we had been to sea lions.
Yeah, it was still really foggy to see them, but you could see them, and my glasses kept getting
misty.
Yeah,
she got misty eyed.
So, but yeah, you could see that's where they were, and you could see them playing and laying on the rocks, and then the tide pools were really impressive.
Yeah,
like
they were.
All these giant round rocks that the ocean has
Smoothed
smoothed out. and then you had to walk on these, and then you could walk right up into the tide pools, and then the ranger gave us permission to, like, gave everybody permission, gave us the directions, and you could touch things.
Touch? Oh no.
So I didn't touch anything.
Oh, we did.
But what? Okay, so
things that were there. Sea anemones, I think that was probably the coolest thing to touch. They're interesting because when the tide is out, they roll up and they look like these little donut things. And they look kind of gross, actually. When I first saw them, I literally thought it was like maybe like a seagull poop or something like that. I didn't know what it was. So it looked kind of gross. If you touched them, they would like start to curl in a little bit more if they were curled up. But when you did have water in the tide pool, you could touch them. They have little tentacles, and they would like suck onto your finger like that. It was great. Okay. Yep. They had sea urchins in the tide pools. Those were really pretty.
Ones?
Those were purple.
Those were really cool, and spiky.
And spiky. Yep. We touched those. They were spiky, not like sharp, but like just you could tell they were hard.
I think Owen said like a toothpick.
Yeah, something like
that. If you pushed on it, it might bend more, but he wasn't pushing very hard.
And then we saw a whole bunch more sea stars: purple, orange, red.
Sea stars.
Sea stars. Yeah, sea stars. Which I knew technically is there. Technically, but seriously,
they were cool. They were like the smallest ones were like this, and then there was a massive one.
Yep, they were big.
Very, very cool. And then the sweet potato thing.
Oh yeah,
it's actually nicknamed the wandering meatloaf, but I thought it looked like a peeled sweet potato, and the ranger told us the name of it, but it was
something I don't remember.
Okay, so I have sea urchins, anemones, sea stars, mussels, wandering meatloaf, sea lions.
A goombut chitin. That's what it is. A goombut chitin. You can read backwards. Congratulations, but that's what the walking meatloaf is. Wandering meatloaf.
So that was a highlight. Then back to the beach a time or two. Yep. It was hard. It was hard to leave the ocean.
Oh, hold up. Time out.
What?
Old Town. You didn't go, but we did, and it was awesome.
Oh, downtown.
Yeah, downtown.
Oh, downtown, Old Town. Okay, hold up.
Time out. Not technical foul.
Okay, go.
So they have Old Town, which is their downtown area essentially, and it's very touristy. They have old pier pilings and things of that nature. But we wanted to go. We wanted to get some seafood, and Amanda is allergic, very anaphylactically allergic, and so we figured it probably wasn't a great idea for her to get seafood. So we decided to go. Amanda actually found a place called Novelli's Crab Shack, and so we went down, and it was right on the pier. It was really good crab chowder. Really good crab chowder.
All the kids liked it.
Yep. Everybody liked it. We had garlic bread with it, which was really good. It was a little bit of a sketchy looking. If we have, you can throw a picture in there if we figure out how to picture this up. Because it was just basically a building, and you walk down onto the pier, and then it's just open. And you walk in, and there's this huge blue tank of water. There's these crabs. And there's a little sign. That's what it is.
Your acting and your noises today are spot on.
They're spot on. And there's a little sign that they called it crab Alcatraz. And essentially that's what it was for them. They'd have to get out and then make it across. Instead of swimming, they'd have to get across land to get to the water. So that was really good. But what else was really neat about it was we decided, of course, we were going to eat right there. They had a little sitting area. And so the kids were all eating. I was getting ready to take a picture, and Owen was taking a bite, and I'm like, Owen, look. And I don't know, probably 10 yards away, a sea lion just hanging out. Hey, saying hi. What's up, buddy? We also saw some other cool things in the tide pools and in that area, which wasn't a tide pool. We saw some really neat things. We saw a bunch of fish and some crabs, hermit crabs and regular crabs and things. It was really neat. We went to BJ's for taffy, about a pound of taffy.
For how much?
I'm not saying.
$9 or $11.
$11 may have been the total cost, but they have 155 flavors. 155 flavors.
So you were able to try some different flavors.
Yeah, we picked out some different flavors. So that was good. Like I said, a lot of little shops. We didn't buy anything down there other than the chowder and the taffy, but it was actually a lot of fun. And I think probably one of the neat things that we saw on our last night, we went down to the beach right at sunset, and we got some good pictures of that too.
And those little basset hounds trying to climb up the sand dunes.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Side note, this lady had 7 basset hounds. And these sand dunes, they are not, they are steep. They are huffing and puffing by the time you get up them. And thankfully, Zoomer pulls me up for most of it. But these little bassets and their little legs took forever. That was
cute.
That was cute.
Oh, we found a pretty much a complete whole sand dollar.
Was that there?
There, yep. I think it was that night.
Yeah.
So then travel day.
Travel day?
It's 20 minutes. You want to do a different video for
Nope,
Grants
because
Pass?
there's not much to
Not much to say about Grants
except
Pass.
for when we got to Grants Pass, one of us had to go back to Florence.
Yep. So we were cleaning up
Just
shop.
talk fast.
We were cleaning up shop in Florence, and we use a surge protector to help protect our appliances and things from any electrical surges that could happen. Campgrounds, it happens. We had some problems in Pacific City actually with different electrical pieces. And so we've always had this surge protector, and it's helped protect us. And I packed it up, and I put it on the picnic table in the site next to us. Now why? I don't know.
Where's your sound effect for that? It should be like a wah wah.
Good job. Perfect. Spot on. Anyway, so these surge protectors are not cheap. And we have a very good one. You can buy some cheaper ones, but we have a very good one. It's actually not just a surge protector; it's an electrical management system.
Let's just say it was worth driving another 6
6 hours
to go get it and back.
Yep, 3 there, 3 back, and just a little bit of talking in between. So yeah, we had to go back and get the surge protector. We did hook up at Grants Pass, Rogue Valley Overnighters.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so let's just say the campground itself was very nice.
Yeah, the campground was fine.
It was right off the interstate, although enough off the interstate that there wasn't like interstate noise. But it was kind of like the hum of city streets, kind of like what Belle said. It was kind of comforting. It was like home, because at home we had Main Street and we had the highway behind us. So you could hear this hum, and then there were city lights. The campground itself, there was a lot of permanent residents, which often means stuff's not so nice. You know, just like at your home, you start to gather stuff and get stuff. But everything there was very nice. The people were very nice. Things were clean. They had really nice grass. They had roses. But there was really no place to walk the dogs. That's really my only drawback for that place. They had dog parks, but they weren't very good dog parks. And then really, the kids and I one day when he was gone went to a park. A lot of homeless people in that community, but we found the Rogue River, and we found some rose gardens that were in full bloom right now. It was so awesome. And then we ran some errands there, and then you and the kids went to their downtown area, went to some antique shops, and flavors. We talk about flavors again.
Baby. So Amanda found for us, because she's a great researcher, an old-fashioned pharmacy. I mean, the pharmacy part of it is, up to date, but
it could be really
but it's like
bad.
it's like it had the counter with being able to do fountain sodas and ice cream and things of that nature. So we decided we'd go down and try us an old-fashioned phosphate soda. And so we walked in, and it's set up. It's got some old signs, and I posted some of those on Facebook, I think. And we were on one side of the counter just kind of looking at the menu, and we thought that the flavors were just kind of your basic flavors. So there's like grape and orange and cherry and strawberry and raspberry and things like that. So we all decided we were going to, get 5 different flavors we were going to share. So if I remember right, and Emmett might be able to help me, we got raspberry. We got cherry. Orange.
So we get pineapple.
Pineapple.
Did you get raspberry?
Yep, it said raspberry and root beer. So those were the 5 we initially bought. And so
Phosphate is in replace of the carbonation.
it's a different, so like in your normal bottles that you drink now, you use carbonic acid to get the carbonation. This uses phosphoric acid, so it's just a little bit different. It's actually a little bit lighter and tastes really good. The whole flavor is lighter too. It's not a real highly sugared drink. But anyway, so we're sitting there sharing, drinking our phosphates, and all of a sudden I see a whole list, like this long, like just flopped out. And on it was the Wisconsin.
There wasn't one for every state, right?
There was not one for every state. No, absolutely not. Wisconsin was the only state represented.
Oh, it was.
Kid from Massachusetts wanted to know why there wasn't a Massachusetts. Because there isn't, buddy.
Wisconsin was the best one.
And so we decided to order it, right? So we decided to order it, and it did turn out to be the best one. It had lemon lime.
Sprite.
That would be the lemon lime, yeah, like a Sprite. And then I'm trying to think what the main flavor was.
Was it raspberry or
It was
strawberry?
raspberry or strawberry,
And then
an actual wedge of lemon in there, and it was fantastic. It was the best one. It was the best.
Yeah.
And we antiqued it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 antique shops. But they're not like when I think antique shop, I often think dirty and gross. These are not dirty and gross. They're pretty clean. So, holy cow. And then we traveled to here. So next time you can hear about here. Goodbye. It's 26 minutes.
Goodbye. Let's say goodbye already.
If you made it this long,
Push the
congratulations.
button.
Goodbye.
Home sweet home for a few weeks, but we actually left about a week early because the trees were so tall and the moisture was coming in the RV that we needed to leave so that the RV didn't get wet. There's one more starfish that has been saved. These sand dunes, some of them are so steep, but coming down is way more fun. And sledding and boarding is a lot more fun than climbing up them. After they got the hang of it, we moved to a bigger hill with bigger wipeouts. Sand is definitely harder to fall on than snow. Lighthouse number 1, lighthouse number 2. Way out in the fog is where the whales live. The tide pools quickly became a favorite. Owen said the sea urchin felt like toothpicks. The mussels and barnacles protect themselves during the day when they're not underwater. Sea stars and wandering meatloaf. Sea anemones. Sea urchin. One last sunset on the Oregon coast. Tried In-N-Out Burger for the first time. Had phosphate sodas, and the favorite was the Wisconsin.